Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. We are jumping right into game for Vitality.Bee versus Karmine Corp. This is our match of the week. It's two Titans on the LFL. Face off.
The wait is over. We are finally here, finally ready now to go on ahead and see how we get this game to develop. A reminder for all of you, it has been a little bit of a time since we got to go over this Karmine Corp, battling to stay inside the playoffs. With this win, even if they lose, they will still be in it, but it would put them a much better position to stay in the playoffs if they find this win here. Vitality.Bee looking to secure a sole possession of second place come the end of week 8, heading into week number 9. So a lot on the line for these two teams. Certainly the right time for them to start to really ramp up their season with just 3 games left.
Absolutely, and we're seeing something a little bit different from both of these teams this game. Not the pressure around the top side that we necessarily expected. Shigenda and Cabochard on the Ornn and Gnar, respectively. Not going to be seeing too much action, as it's going to be Jeskla and Reckless, the main focuses of both of these compositions.
Yeah, whenever we see Gnar versus Ornn in the top lane, the expectation is that the Gnar is going to generate their own advantage, but that doesn't necessarily demand too many resources from the team. Now, I say that, and I'm looking at where the junglers are starting, and I do tend to think, well, what if Cabochard sets up for a 3-wave stack, crash and dive on that top side? Because Skeens is clearing top to bot, where we've got 1-1-3 clearing from bottom to top, pathing away from this bot lane, as Skeens is going to be pathing toward it. And the sort of tried and true composition from KC is that they would attempt to take this dive on the top side. Something I'm not happy about, though, Middlecott. I'm seeing Skeens full clear on Lee Sin. That makes me sad.
It's not great. You do want to be proactive in the early stages, but looking towards these lanes, not necessarily the best setup CC for you, at least just yet.
No, quite right. You know, and you know, it makes me sad because Lee Sin is this demands early game proactivity jungler. The good thing is as well that he's matched up against another jungler that demands early game proactivity. And for the most part, they've actually both opted into the same set of players. It's the complete blue side jungle straight into a red buff, into potentially looking at ganking and seeing where the lane states are situated. Because it's a little bit scary to just randomly throw off your entire pathing for a gank, but 1-1-3 is going to do it.
Yeah, the guaranteed CC of the Rune Prison, the lockdown in the mid lane, but Skeens is here with the safeguard to keep his mid laner alive. Nicely
read, I suppose, here by Skeens, ready and able to respond to the play by 1-1-3. Diplex does burn his flash in the mid lane, of course, jumping onto a Swain. Pre-level 6, not nearly as scary as jumping onto one that is post-level 6, and this is now costing quite a little bit for Vitality.Bee. If we look at the jungle, it's 1-1-3, taking away this Raptor camp, and may well be able to transition this into a Crook camp as well. Communicate to your bot lane that you want a little bit of priority, and you can maybe go for the double.
Yeah, but instead, 1-1-3 is going to be pathing a bit more into that mid lane and coming up to attack Skeens as he beats down on to that Scuttle Crab. So not opting to split the map, a bit more willing to tussle with the enemy jungler, but the Crab is already gone. 1-1-3 is going to be forced to walk away.
A little bit slow, but this fortunately puts him on the right side of the rift for the remainder of his camps. He can take his Raptors and his Krugs as well. So not necessarily the worst thing in the world, where we see Skeens actually has to go back to base. So he's going to have a little bit more time out on the map. There's maybe a 20-second window in about 30 seconds where we've got a bit of time for Skeens to do something on this Lee Sin. Where 1-1-3 is going to go clear his camps, go back to base, and then come back out onto the rift with a lot more gold and a lot more agency in the team.
As Cabochard getting the shove onto Shigenda, kind of as we expected. You already touched on how the Gnar does tend to have a lot of priority, but again, as we expected, Shigenda up there, even in terms of CS, and not really being pressurized as much. Interesting itemization coming through from Diplex here, actually going for the Giant's Belt on the Swain. This is something I've been seeing a lot, Rude, dude.
It is, and basically, health just early in the game is the most effective stat that you can build. Basically, you know, as a baseline, you can take that away, largely because damage doesn't tend to be as easy to build up through these early stages, and the work towards a Rylai's Crystal Scepter, 1 Amp Tome versus you know, 1 Blasting Wand or a Giant's Belt. The Giant's Belt gives you the most.
Forsaken forced to flash over the wall there as that ward actually spotting out Skeens as he made his approach. Recall being channeled by Reckless here as Saken is waiting in the wings, baiting in Jack Troll as he flashes over the wall. Ignite and heal going to be expended on opposite sides, but a positive summoner spell trade for Karmine Corp.
Could very well have been a 2v2 that Vitality.Bee could take, but they didn't have mid control. Saken moves his way down, and 113 also there, willing and able to make his way into that bot side. Through hits mid lane, but no 6 means that Diplex is going to get a favourable trade, and sidestepping those overloads as well means that there's not a great load of damage to come back from Saken. Now that level 6 has been hit for Diplex, and an all-in in this mid lane is still possible, albeit a little bit more difficult.
And that giant spell is really sort of like tricking your eye almost. It looks like Diplex is relatively equivalent with Saken, but he's actually a couple hundred of HP up on the rise, and he's doing well in terms of the CS as well. So the Swain having a little bit more fun in terms of the early stages, but as that wave gets shoved in, Saken is going to be able to pick it up. Yeah,
and talking about the effective stats that we've got right now, Saken needs a lot more time to get the usage out of the stats that he has bought. He has opted exclusively into mana, which gives him spell casts. Doesn't mean that his spell casts do more damage, but it means that he has more of them. The issue with that is that he has to wait for longer, to wait for his cooldowns to cycle up for him to get the most out of the mana that he's purchased. No. That's a little bit sad. Vision of Empire going, barely wide. But Diplex here with the, like I say, effective HP early on, very good if you can build it and get an item out of it.
Yeah, so Rudu, Dragon has been on the map for a couple minutes, and neither team has really indexed too much pressure towards that objective so far. Do you expect either team to have a bit more of a focus on Dragons this game?
I think this is a little bit of a weird one because Dragons are so frequently determined by bot lanes, and neither of these two teams play toward their bot lane. So Drake could very well go by the wayside for a fair amount of time. Obviously, mid lane has a slight impact on that, and given that we've got a rise in the mid lane for Karmine Corp, cheating priority can certainly happen. We're at this point now where, with no flash in the mid lane, Diplex doesn't feel too comfortable stepping up unless his jungler is right there, ready to go, which is unfortunately not the case for right now. And if we look at the pings on the minimap as well, respawn of the red buff is coming through. Diplex pushed in the mid lane, first move out of here, Saken doesn't know where his mid laner is, and that Scryer's Bloom should alert them to there being some fishy things going on in the mid lane.
Oh, 113, very nice movement, dodging away from the never move there as Skeens is forced to ward hop away. Saken gonna pop the realm up and get kicked back to cancel the ultimate. And he's straight into the waiting arms of Diplex. First blood for the Vitality.Bee mid laner, and 113 forced to flash away to prevent himself from being number 2.
And it is just that flash lacking there for Saken. He can't get out of the kick range, can't get out of the resonating strike either, and with good connections on skill shots, Vitality.Bee are able to generate themselves first blood, kick them right back into the waiting arms of Diplex, who can quite happily land the never move off the back of that as well. No TP for Saken means that he's going to miss a fairly sizable amount of this wave under the turret. We're also seeing that Karmine Corp may well be able to turn this into a Drake for themselves. Diplex wants to spend that gold. Vitality.Bee may have to seed this one in favor of getting that kill.
And that's come from a lot of the pressure that Reckless and Pantera have actually been able to put out in the spot lane. The CS lead for the Zeri isn't massive at this point, but you're going to feel good scaling up, picking up those minions, picking up those little bits of gold as 113 slays the Drake. And looking at the position from Vitality.Bee, not really in a place where they can contest or trade with the Herald.
As far as early Drakes go, Cloud actually one of the better ones to pick up because of the way that the percentages work on movement speed. You have a lot more base movement speed, so you get more effectiveness from the percent that you get. But also, it means that it's not a Cloud Soul for the remainder of the game, which means that if you are able to pick up those early Drakes, you're able to pick yourself up an early Soul, and it tends to be a little bit stronger if it ain't that Cloud.
Definitely a niche Drake. Has its power, has its uses, but I know, personally I just prefer blowing people up. Karmine Corp moving towards this Herald. Vitality.Bee pulling their support here. Jack Troll is in the area as Reckless is heading down to the bot lane, and Jeskla slowly making their way towards the northern areas of the map. Shelly will reset, and now Skeens can move towards the objective.
How frequently do people use cardinal coordinates to describe Summoner's Rift?
What's a cardinal coordinate?
North, east, south.
Oh, I've always just called them like compass directions.
Yeah, that's fair.
Cardinal coordinates sounds like, I don't know, something to do with like the Pope. That's cardinals, right?
Yeah, same sort of vein, same sort of vibe.
Is it a case of like the Pope is always in a certain direction away from you?
Yeah,
is that
the
how
hierarchy
compasses work? Is
the Catholic Church.
Do compasses just point towards the Pope?
I did hear that the Pope has a massive electromagnetic field. That is one of the prerequisites.
Is that what's in the hat?
Yes, must be. We need to be careful.
We do. What was it last week? It was flat Earth, and now
Flat Earth.
I feel like our understanding of geography is not particularly good, rude dude.
I feel like it is. We're just telling people it's not.
As 113 going very aggressive onto Jatroll. Starts hitting onto his own team as well as Saken. With that phase rush can go forward. Diplex is very, very low on mana.
Jessica's nowhere near this.
Whilst he can still operate as a front line for his team, Karmine Corp are able to push back Vitality.Bee in their own jungle.
Yeah, and this is just the willingness to move from Karmine Corp's bot lane. They have sacrificed a little bit of a wave in that bot side on Reckless, where Jessica gets to push in this entire wave now, and it would be a time where Vitality.Bee had a bit of an advantage, but unfortunately not going to be the case. It's just going to be a couple of ults traded. It's an on. We don't need to get too excited.
Yeah.
Sajenda, he'll be able to weather this storm. Maybe a world now where he's a little bit more scared for farming under the turret when Cabo goes back to that mini form. But by and large, poking out the Ornn, this is pretty much as expected on this top side. Cabo has the run of things, and really, you're only looking at how large that CS lead gets. For Sajenda, he is absolutely demolishing this top lane.
Absolutely chilling as the Barmy Cinder, the Warden's Mail, and that Glacial Shroud in pocket. So a Frozen Heart could come through pretty soon for this Ornn. Now, I'm intrigued that Cabochard's gone towards this Divine Sunderer. We are seeing a lot of Nars pick up stuff like the Trinity Force, which is a bit more damage focused in terms of the 1v1. Survivability feels like the name of the game for Divine Sunderer.
Yeah, and also just potentially opting into a little bit more split push focus potentially with that, as usually on the top side, Saken and Diplex going into their own little battle, but it is a Rift Herald down in the bot side that Jester may be punished for. Good handshake from Jatroll. So far, he's been absolutely nailing those as well. But to touch on quickly, the way this bot lane has been going, we haven't really seen too much from it, and we're expecting these two to be late game carries that we need to keep our eyes on. So far, Reckless a little bit further ahead of the curve, sat on that 128 CS, Immortal Shield Bow already completed, versus Jester, excuse me, who currently just sat on the components of a Blade of the Ruin King.
Yeah, obviously once the Twitch packs that up, it's going to be pretty decent sized power spike for him, but yeah, an AD carry that really starts to get online once you're at that 3 item point. Not too dissimilar from Zeri herself, honestly, but Karmine Corp with this rise as well, another scaling threat that they can offer. The fact that the game is even isn't going to be troubling them too much at this point. No,
they're still going to be quite content, quite happy with the second Drake spawning as well inside the next 30, 40 seconds. Yeah, oh, inside 15 seconds. There we are. Look at the top left routes. That'll tend to tell you. They're going to be quite happy as well on Karmine Corp to just take this one, I imagine. They've got complete control over this bot lane. Plates have fallen just in time for Reckless to secure a quick one before it goes down. But they've got push in this bot lane. Mid lane, they can quite easily secure quite quickly. And they should be looking for this Drake. But Jeskla, still quite far, has completed the Blade of the Ruin King now. And it looks like Vitality.Bee have actually done a good enough job at warding off Karmine Corp for long enough for this Twitch to become relevant.
Jigenda just resetting there on the Ornn, but
walk really bot and TP top. Jigenda should be walking toward this dragon right now, and then can TP top worst case.
Yeah. Not really a ward that can get behind Karmine Corp. That blue ward in the Tribush, not TP-able to. Didn't realise that was a word, but all members of Vitality.Bee actually stacking around this Drake as the kick from 113 takes him away from the dragon. Wants to flash back over the wall as Reckless is going to use the ultimate, and Scenes is going to be diving in. Exploded on the Lee Sin and not able to find a kill before he goes down. A 1-for-1 so far, but Diplex is absolutely massive. Saken is going to be able to realm warp his support away, but it's Vitality.Bee who pull the trigger in the bot lane.
Yeah, and they also take the dragon. I think overall it's actually a 1-for-1, which, given the way that the fight went, does not feel fair. But Karmine Corp able to go even in the fight in terms of kills, but they do lose out on the health pool trade and on the dragon. So it's a A 1 fight for Vitality.Bee only by the health bar, not by the numbers specifically. And Karmine Corp still with a 1k gold lead off the back of that Drake. Off the back of the Drake and the fight. Nothing particularly goes Vitality.Bee's way. They aren't able to take a turret, for example, or move into any lane and really deny waves. The only thing that really happens is we see both waves caught in the bot side by the top laners. So overall, Karmine Corp, the way that went, they should be fairly happy, given how poor the fight looked.
And it has been a different Karmine Corp, honestly, so far in this game. The aggression early towards that top side hasn't really been here. 113 has been a bit more concerned with enabling his laners to have space, just supportive movements every so often, as it looks potentially in range there, but not opting to pull the trigger. And we are sort of settling into this bit of a slower pace, Rude.
Yeah, Blanket may be coming out again, just while we get a little bit cozy, ready to go. For what could be a fairly longer game, what we're seeing is, again, two teams that kind of familiar with what their win conditions are, I feel like. Seiken on the rise, getting some items. Reckless on the Zeri, getting some items. And to that same extent, even, Vitality.Bee recognizing, okay, when Jeskla's hit that Kraken Slayer, hit the Runons, that's when we're going to be good to fight. We're quite happy to trade off these objectives early on and sort of see where the gold ends up lying.
And I'm really interested to see how Diplex is going to be working out as we get later into these fights, because the likes of the Xin Zhao, the Na, the Rise, these are all going to be targets pretty close to you, but Reckless on this Jerry should just be able to kite out of range of the Swain, and Diplex may have issues actually finding access onto the targets that he needs to.
Particularly with Hantera in the back pocket as well. Polymorph could come through, but more likely fact is the Whimsy, which just gives Reckless more movement speed, as though the Zeri needs it. There's a lot of tools available to Reckless to staying alive, and that's something that they should be certainly looking towards.
Held summoned in the top lane. Seiken is going to throw as many spells as he can at the giant purple possessed rift scuttle thing.
You know how tennis players make noises when they hit the ball?
Yes.
I imagine Rise doing that every time he casts a spell.
He does make a lot of noises. He's a very noisy champion.
That is true.
They kind of sound all a bit weird, though.
It's not distraction noises. It's more so... Oh, maybe it is distraction noises, actually,
it feels like
it's
he's
weird.
genuinely putting effort into casting the spells.
Really?
Yeah, well, I
you think that summoning things from thin air takes effort?
Right, Rude Dude, my knowledge of magic and its applications in the real world is exactly as...
Exactly zero.
Exactly zero.
Exactly zero. Okay.
It's not particularly high.
All I know is, when the dude walked on water, he didn't make loads of noises about it.
I've not watched much Dynamo Magician Impossible, so
unlucky.
Not really able to comment. Jeskla did use the ultimate there on the Twitch and burnt the heal too, but Vitality.Bee have got a momentary avenue to take down this mid lane tower, though Karmine Corp here to respond and prevent the structure from falling.
Quite nice as well of them to try and defend their mid-tier 1 turret, and they do so successfully as well. I want to draw your attention to some crucial item spikes that are starting to be secured. Phantom Dancer is almost ready for Reckless. We have got that second item finished for Seiken in tandem with the stopwatch as well. When that ticks over to the Archangels, he's going to be incredibly safe because you get as well the passive, the upgrade that comes from having that Seraphs completed. All of your spell casts give you health back, so certainly not too untoward, and the blue buff here acting as a little bit of a red buff as well. Obviously, red buff giving health regen, the blue buff giving mana regen. The mana regen as well means that he can cast more spells, which means he gets more health back.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that hopefully for Karmine Corp fans ends in a win. Teleports coming through from both top laners towards this Dragon Pick, as Shigenda is going to be the initial focus. Dion is very, very tanky, but has already been taken to around about 15% HP. There's no way that Vitality.Bee can take the rest of this fight.
Nope. And unless Jeskla goes huge here.
Yeah, unless he just opens up on the Twitch. The Call of the Forge God is nice. It splits Karmine Corp. It forces them away, and Hantera is going to be taken down. Cabochard goes mega, but doesn't quite get pulled back. The Never Move only getting the Gnar into that war. As the kickback actually coming through from Skeens. 113 diving into the team. The Gore Drinker to buy some time, but will get taken down. Seiken not quite able to find the Q as Skeens dodges away from it beautifully.
Ultra Shock Laser, maybe.
Boomerang Blade not quite able to find it. The Ultra Shock Laser not there in time as the hostile takeover thrown out from Jatroll doesn't really find anybody. Vitality.Bee still get the pressure around this Drake.
Once again, though, a one fight, but this time Karmine Corp have the health bars to go for something else. They're going to go and opt into this mid lane. Smite used by Summoner Spellbook Diplex, I suppose, as Skeens was able to secure that with his own Smite. But this is a trade, and I think, honestly, a trade that Karmine Corp will take. Mid-tier 1 turret for a Dragon. As long as come 10 minutes time, they aren't regretting this one. Let's see what they can do with that.
Yeah, it would surprise me if they have, because they've taken down all of the outer towers for Vitality.Bee, and the only one that Vitality.Bee have been able to fell is that top lane, which, hey, if you're able to generate a long lane there and work that into your favor, I guess that's great, but I feel like Cabochard and Seiken kind of own the side lane at this point.
They really do. Seiken pretty much, with Phase Rush, can never be killed and can always clear waves. And then I think that Cabochard wins the 1v1 against everybody that goes to the side lane right now. Divine Sundra plus Black Cleaver, Merc Treads on top of that, so he doesn't really ever get CC'd for all that long. This is a terrifying prospect play against Cabo right now in the side lane.
And the Rise, credit to Seiken, working out all right. And by working out all right is, I mean, it hasn't been hyper polished in the early stages. That Ceres is now complete, that stopwatch there as well. And Karmine Corp, they've opted into this sort of slower style of gameplay, and the scaling composition, the scaling champions that they've got on their side, gradually approaching the point of power. We can't ignore the scaling on Vitality.Bee, though, as Diplex maybe
he might have cheated vision. He might have
actually cheated vision. So Karmine Corp don't know where the Karmine Corp know where the Swain is. Karmine Corp know where the Swain is. And Diplex is O2 well aware of his current predicament, of his current situation. Ults just to try and clear out the wave a little bit, but isn't able to find it too much. That time port does allow Vitality.Bee to knock down this tower in the mid lane, so I guess that's kind of worth.
Depends, though. Karmine Corp do have the option of looking to the Baron if they fancied using this window, but I don't think they're all too inclined to go for it. They would have had to have absolutely beelined it there if they wanted it, but they've not opted into that trade just yet. And they're just going to be a 1-for-1 in terms of those objectives, I suppose. Or 2-for-0 in the objectives, but a 1 kill over to Karmine Corp. Again, I think this favors the team that gets the objectives. I appear to be just having a lot of priority around setting up for these turrets, more so than anything else. I think that having completed that outer sweep now, it neutralizes the map state, really. We're talking about these long lanes, and something that I love, it'll cut us a quick tangent. These little memes that we start to generate, and their own little caster-specific terminologies. Long lanes, it feels like, has been the one for the day.
Yeah, long lanes.
In a completely neutral game where the map doesn't change at all.
Really
I appreciate the irony.
The teams, there is not a lot of opportunities for stuff to get done, as we're starting to see Cabochard group up with the rest of his team. The Forge God from Shigenda has been called on to 113, but look at that, Karmine Corp with the Shurelias not quite in range of Vitality.Bee. Oh, we're getting close to action coming down, and Diplex may be the target. 113 able to heal up just enough to keep himself alive, but goes into the stasis. And the Swain will fall down at the end of it. A 1-for-1 on the top side as Jatroll taken down by Cabochard.
Yeah, uses the Gnar there, solo onto the Renata, but he was about to run into Mini anyway. It's a worthwhile expenditure because that hostile takeover now no longer available for any ensuing fights to come through. Jessica, once again, not really a part of this fight, has been a little bit missing throughout this game and hasn't necessarily found the tools to get into this fight, and that's a theme that we are seeing. If they can fight with the Twitch, it tends to go well. If he's not there, it's quite the opposite.
But Reckless is starting to sort of skate away from him, honestly. His 2 items completed on that Zerion has done for a fair bit, to be honest. Well, Jeskler is still waiting to pick up his Mythic. Once that comes through, the Twitch is going to be very, very scary, but once that comes through, Reckless is going to be even closer to his next item, as we are seeing teleports used by both of these teams. Skeens potentially caught out in the river, but with Diplex responding to Seiken, the jungler is able to escape.
30 seconds on this Drake spawn. Remember, Karmine Corp sacrificed the last dragon and they were able to secure themselves a mid-tier 1 turret. This time round, it's Karmine Corp once again who are looking to set up around it. Push the go fast button, but don't ultimately find anything. And one of the beautiful things about Zeri actually is that if there's nobody blocking, you can take these control wards without having vision on them. Burst fire hits, even if you don't see the ward. And you get the gold pop up to indicate that you've been successful in that juncture. Agenda has called the Forge God. They can look for a fight.
Oh, they're jumping onto Skeens, though he's forced to ult and flash away. The Lee Sin not going to be diving into any backlines anytime soon as Karmine Corp catch him out and secure priority and pressure around this river.
Importantly, still good ults available. Call the Forge God. Burst fire down. There's a winning angle here for Vitality.Bee. They've got some good ults ready and available. Spray and Pray are also up. I've just wasted the Call the Forge God. And Diplex also has that Demonic Ascension ready to go.
Yeah, Seiken hitting onto Diplex on the other side is going to use that Vision of Empire as they're actually playing onto the rise. Seiken goes into the Zhonya's as Reckless comes over the wall. The Realm Warp able to get Seiken out of danger, but he may be falling low. 1-1-3 taken out as the Berserk comes through and Cabochard not quite in range to hit out onto Seiken. Karmine Corp coming away, licking their wounds somewhat as Reckless may have overstayed in this mid lane. Jeskla gonna start to chase down the Zeri, but Hantera is here with the shields, with the heals, with the speed up to look to turn things around.
Very messy fight from both sides. Realm Warp actually saves the life of Diplex and Skeens on one side of it, where Jeskla able to dish out the damage on the other side and take down 1-1-3 off the back end there. The Drake does go the way of Karmine Corp, having seen Diplex and Skeens commit to Seiken on one side of the fight. It's a very strange one, honestly. Not quite too sure how these team fights are going to continue to play out. The one thing that we did see is that Jeskla does damage. He's with the team now. Has that Kraken Slayer finished as well, Blade of the Ruin King, so he can kill that first target a little bit easier with the stolen away movement speed, first of all.
And you need to care for this Twitch. The later this game goes, it will be an incredible threat as 1-1-3. They have gone too far forward. He's going to use that ultimate, but gets kicked back and is surrounded by 5 members of Vitality. Shigenda going forward onto Hantera, who has been slowed, has been tagged, has been taken out, as now Seiken going to be the next focus potentially. It's actually Cabochard who's trying to deal damage to the front line. Reckless, full HP, the Ultra Shock Laser, enough to take out his opposite number, and somehow Karmine Corp push back Vitality.Bee.
Numbers deficit, but Gnar plus Zeri is a lethal duo, particularly when Cabo still has this Mega Gnar ultimate available. Could have gone huge if Vitality.Bee didn't stick around too long. The Ultra Shock Laser just sniping out Jessica on the back end stops this fight from being a complete wash against Karmine Corp. We're getting closer and closer now, Middlecott, to these fights, meaning actual significant things, but again, it's the exchange of champions in a way that doesn't allow for any objective to be taken. Baron was up. The way that Jeskla falls means that Vitality.Bee can't take it. They are living and dying by Jeskla's damage at this point. They've got enough situational damage to kill off one target if they're isolated. We've seen that in the way 1-1-3 has been taken down fairly a few times now at this point. If they get into these long order team fights, they need Jeskla there and they need this Twitch's damage.
And they need to kill people that aren't 1-1-3 as well. Because if the Xin Zhao's dead, like, that sucks for Karmine Corp. It means that their ability to make aggressive plays isn't as strong, but they've still got all the damage. They've still got the Rise. They've still got the Zeri. And with the Gnar and Lulu who can enable them, your 4v5 is actually pretty damn good.
Exactly. You make a great point. Focusing on to 1-1-3, obviously it's that first target. It's who you have to get rid of because he does annoyingly do enough damage and cause enough disruption to ruin your backline's chances of winning out in a team fight. Jeskla, though, could be looking for a play. Down 2 levels.
Yeah, it was opening up with the ultimate. The kickback coming through onto Hantera. The Lulu just removed from Summoner's Rift, and Reckless is not in a great state either. Pings are coming down around the Baron pit here for Vitality.Bee.
Seems a little bit overzealous, honestly, with still 4 carry members up and available. No Lightning Rush ready for Reckless, so this is Zeri not exactly the monster that we would expect to see, but Seiken still up. Cabochard's Mega Gnar bar ticking up nicely. This is very risky for Vitality.Bee.
Oh, Jatroll forced to flash away.
They have to turn.
A little bit too confident in the face of Karmine Corp on 1-1-3. And Terra is going to be back on the rift, but that Baron is not going down quickly enough for Vitality.Bee. Jatroll waiting in the wings. A strong hostile takeover could ruin Karmine Corp's chances as Seiken gonna throw up the Realm Warp. They catch a pick. Who have they got? It's 113. He's dead. That's the Xinjiao we needed to be buying time for Karmine Corp in the front side. As Skeens is going to be isolating out Cabochard and taking them out. Seiken, Reckless, and Hantera still alive. Vitality.Bee with health bars in.
Still wild growth available for Hantera. Seiken can maybe do enough. Diplex goes back to base. He's got teleport available to come back in. He caused such a disruption in that front line, and I think they've done just enough. Reckless, Seiken, and Hantera now to defend the Baron.
3 items on this Rise, 3 items on this Zeri, but 5 health bars that you need to go through. Karmine Corp blink, and Vitality.Bee secure the Baron.
Very tight angles here. These fights, the objectives, they are coming down to a very small margin. Karmine Corp are able to default back to the Baron, so they secure themselves Soul Point. There's now a 3-minute window where Vitality.Bee are under a little bit of pressure. Was it worth it? They've secured themselves the Baron. What can they do with it? There are 3 turrets outside the base to secure, 5 turrets inside if they want to get even further. One single fight could very well do it. That's the power of the Baron. You win a fight when you've got Baron, you can end the game. They need to find that fight, and they need to start taking these structures more importantly.
And as it stands, Vitality.Bee aren't really pushing too aggressively. Already, basically, a minute of that Baron time has fallen off, and we haven't seen any of those purple minions really connect onto these towers. Yes, Diplex is doing a fine job pushing in the top side, but unless you start getting multiple members of Vitality.Bee roaming over, this tower isn't going to be under much threat, as Cabochard actually going in onto the Swain and overstep
Off target
in the top side from Diplex, but with that Zhonya's, he buys enough time to stay alive, and now Vitality.Bee go for the dive under the tower. It was just a bait. It's 2 kills, and they go to Diplex.
And you just can't go onto the Sway like this. He's got the ulti, he's got the Zhonya's. Trying to focus down that target is too difficult, and Karmine Corp, they pay the price. 2 members fall. Baron buff available. Fortunately, Reckless here with the ulti still going. He's done enough to clear out that wave. They take the top tier 2 turret. They may be able to transition this into the mid tier 2 as well. The base remains unbroken. That ulti now wearing off of Reckless. His ultimate no longer ready, no longer active. Second turret falling in the mid lane now, and Vitality.Bee, they win the fight, but they don't break open the base.
Definitely the team in the ascendancy, however. Important to note now, Rudu, we're starting to get these Ornn items coming online. Actually, for every
we've done it. The Ornn items are online.
The Ornn items are online. Wormfallen Sacrifices and Leandri's Laments across the board for multiple members of Vitality.Bee, and that's an extra 1,000 gold worth of stats on every single member of this team.
So that gold lead that we're touching on, that we can see, in fact, 4K for Vitality.Bee. Why don't we double that? And then add a little bit extra as well, the 5K that comes with those stats specifically. Certainly something to keep track of and note those intangibles that we touched on a couple of games ago with the level lead. And that level lead, not necessarily as important. Jessica actually down a level over his counterpart, but that doesn't matter. With the final few seconds of this Baron, they complete the outer turret sweep. And I asked Middlecop, I said, what can they do with this Baron? Was it worth giving over the Ocean Soul Point to get this Baron? If they break open this turret, it is decidedly worthwhile.
Yeah, but Karmine Corp aren't going to be going down without a fight as that Baron drops off. Pushing power, not quite enough to maintain a solid siege on that bot lane in Hib Tower, as Shirelius has been used.
He got caught by a slow, and Habbo was looking. He was trying to sniff out and engage, but not able to quite find it there. And now that this Baron is worn off, by the way, this is so hard.
Cool, the Forge God, though, landing onto 2 members of Karmine Corp. 113 already using that ultimate and diving back in. Shigenda not quite able to find Cabochard, who's going to be stuck in that mini-fall for a while. It's the double pullback, and the damage is honestly disgusting. Jeskla now on a killing spree, and Vitality.Bee can move into the base.
At a certain point, people are going to have to ban Diplex's Swain as well. This is the 2nd time he's broken open games with this Swain.
Yeah, Cabochard pulled back there with a handshake as Reckless uses that ultimate. Vitality.Bee not really able to move too far forward as teleport coming through, and Shigenda looking to turn Vitality.Bee. They could be in a really rough spot, but they're able to index onto Reckless. Cabo Shard moving over the long flank on the Gnar in the Mega, but doesn't get any stuns with the knockback. Seiken now going to be realm warping forward, but he's just going to realm warp to his own death. Diplex going golden once again to keep himself alive, and Karmine Corp have no answer. The Swain is just too tankly, and Reckless isn't able to find the damage.
Vitality.Bee do just enough. They weather the storm, all the engages. They're going again.
113 diving back in, using the ultimate shutdown secured onto Jester as Shigenda teleporting into the fight, interrupting the dash from 113 as Diplex is here as well. The solo lanes from Vitality.Bee way too tanky to take down.
That could be it here. Reckless, no ulti, Lightning Rush not ready for enough time, and Vitality.Bee with the redemption are going to close out this game.
The death timers are just too long. It was a cagey affair, a game that took a while to get going, but when it did, Vitality.Bee assert themselves at the top of the standings.
They take themselves into the top 2. Firm control now of that second seed heading into week 9, the final week of the LFL Summer Split.